AI can be absolutely brilliant, but let's be honest, it can also be a brilliant liar. It can write you a poem 1 minute and then just completely make up facts the next. Well, we are right on the edge of a huge shift, a move from AI that just guesses to an AI that actually knows. So, let's dive into how we're building an AI that can finally, truly reason.
The big problem with AI today has this fancy name, hallucination. It's really just a nice way of saying the AI makes stuff up with 100% confidence. In this quote, it totally nails the solution. It's about giving the AI a library, a set of facts it can check before it speaks. The secret sauce here is a technique called RAG, and believe me, it is a total game changer.
Okay, so that leads to the million-dollar question, right? How in the world do you give an AI a library that it can actually read? I mean, you can't just throw a pile of PDFs at a machine and expect it to work. Solving this is the absolute key to unlocking the next generation of AI that we can actually trust.
So, before we can really fix the problem, we've got to understand it. Let's take a little peek inside the mind of a large language model, which is, brilliant, but also fundamentally flawed.
The best way to think about a large language model is like autocomplete on steroids. Seriously, its one and only goal is to predict the next most plausible word. It's not trying to be truthful, it's just trying to sound right. And that means it can sound incredibly convincing, even when it is completely, totally wrong. And that is a huge problem if you're trying to rely on it for real information.
All right, so if we can't trust the AI's built-in memory, what do? Well, we give it a new one, a better one, a memory that's built on solid facts, not just internet fluff. A memory it can search and check before it ever gives you an answer. This is how we build an AI we can finally trust. And this right here is where the real magic happens. There's this technology called vector embeddings, and what it does is turn words into numbers. But these aren't just random numbers. No, they actually capture the meaning and the context of the words. Imagine a library where all the books about, say, space exploration are grouped together, not just by the author's last name. That's what this does. It lets the AI search for an idea, not just a key word. This image just lays it all out perfectly. On the one hand, without this system, all your data is just a messy pile of books, totally useless to the AI. But with vector embeddings, boom. Suddenly, the AI has this perfectly organized library at its fingertips. It can find exactly what it needs instantly, which means you get the right answer every single time.
So these vectors, these numbers, get stored in special databases. You might have heard of tools like Pinecone or Weaviate. And what this does is give the AI something it's never really had before, a reliable, searchable, long-term memory. A memory that's built on facts that you control, not just whatever it scraped from the internet.
Okay, so we've built the AI a library. Awesome. Now we have to teach it how to actually use it. And that is where RAG comes in, Retrieval-Augmented Generation. This is the system that's about to change everything. So check out how this works. It's actually brilliantly simple. Step 1, you ask a question. But instead of just guessing an answer, the RAG system, in Step 2, goes straight to that library we just built. It searches the database, finds the most relevant facts, that's Step 3, and then for the final step, it hands those facts to the AI. It is literally like giving the AI an open book test where you've already highlighted all the answers. And this is a complete game changer. The AI is no longer guessing, it's sourcing. It's using verified facts you gave it to build its answer. It's the difference between fumbling through a test from memory and having the textbook wide open in front of you. With RAG, the AI is finally acing that test.
Now, RAG is a huge deal, for sure, but it's not the only game in town. There's another approach that's getting a lot of buzz called long context. The idea here is to just give the AI a much, much bigger short-term memory to work with. So, which one's better? Let's take a look.
A recent study breaks this down really well. If you look at this table, you can see that long context models are kind of like a high-performance sports car. They're super powerful, maybe have a slightly higher performance on average, but they're incredibly expensive to run. RAG, on the other hand, it's more like a really efficient hybrid. It might not be quite as flashy, but it's way more cost-effective, and it guarantees your answer is based on facts. So, the right choice really depends on what you need it to do.
So what's on the horizon? Well, there's this fascinating new idea called self-route. The idea is to make the AI smart enough to decide for itself which tool to use for which job. Maybe it uses RAG for a quick fact check, but then switches to long context for a deep analysis of a huge report. It's the best of both worlds, and that's probably where we're headed.
So what happens? What happens when you combine a super powerful language model with a perfect fact-checked memory? You get something entirely new. You get an AI that can reason, an AI that can think, and that changes everything.
Look, this is so much more than just a little technical upgrade. This is a revolution. We're talking about an AI that can remember your entire conversation, that can understand what you mean even if you're being vague, and that can give you an answer chained to verified facts. This is the tech behind genuinely helpful assistants, things like session sense or subjective shopper. The future of AI is here.
So here's the bottom line. We are making the leap from an AI that just completes your sentences to an AI that actually understands your context. It's the fundamental difference between a parrot that can mimic words and a person who actually understands them. And that single shift is going to change everything we do.
So, we've just figured out how to build an AI that can finally answer our questions with real, verifiable facts. But that leaves us with one last really big thought to chew on. What happens when it starts asking its own questions? That is the question that's going to define the next chapter of our story.